Hi, welcome to the I don't know what I'm doing repair shop by Frank. No, I'm just kidding. I'm actually doing a oil change for my Jeep Gladiator 2021 Rubicon. Not that it matters much, it's all pretty much the same thing. So I'll show you what you need to do very quickly. All right, before you do anything, make sure you have a disposable oil container that you could take down to your auto parts store and have them empty out for you. I chose the Extended Performance 0W20, which is the factory spec. And then I also got a Wix WL110 oil filter. This is a little bit more of a premium one to kind of help with the particulates. Make sure you have your socket set for both 13 and 24 millimeter sockets, and then you have your oil pan. I also like to put down like an old paint rug there or a tarp just to make sure none of the oil spills gets on your driveway, or in our case, our gym floor. All right, the first thing you want to do is just make sure that your pipe tube's been sitting for a while so it can cool down a little bit. That's just to prevent you from getting burns from the oil, but also doing any kind of damage on your engine. So I like to cool it down quite a bit, maybe an hour or two before I go get in there and do it. So this is the front oil pan right here. This is where you want to be, and this is the 13 millimeter socket. A little bit tough to do. All right, once you have it a little bit loose, just make sure that you kind of have your pan ready to go, because once you spin this thing off, it's going to start spilling all over the place. So go ahead and lightly start taking your screw off. Gloves would be great here, but I just forgot to get them. And then ready, and here we go. This is where that little tarp comes in handy. Just be careful to watch the flow of it, because it is going to go backwards as soon as it starts draining more and more and more. And I had about 20% life left on the oil, but you can see that it's still pretty darn dark. So I don't like to go too far down. And just let it finish dripping. So that's what the new filter looks like. And then also here is a little ring right here that you're going to want to use. And then you're going to want to put a little bit of oil on top of that, and I'll show you what to do. Now, when you're looking at your engine bay, right there is where your oil filter is at. So you use your 24 millimeter socket to loosen that up, and then you bring it out. And I'll show you what it looks like here in a sec. Okay, I've loosened it, and it's going to come out pretty darn easily. One thing you want to have is a nice shop rag. Do not use your wife's nice clean white towels, otherwise you are a dead man. So the rag is simply to kind of help with the drip, and that's what it looks like, nice and dirty. So you'll notice here that there's an O-ring. So this is the old one, but once you pop this off, which is a real easy thing to do, set it down without making too much of a mess. You want to try to get this O-ring off, which you should be able to use with your fingertips, but if you need to have like a screwdriver or something like that. But then the new one here, you want to make sure you get a little bit of oil and rub it on in there. If you don't have enough here, just use some fresh oil that from your new container. So I got some oil from the new container. Again, with your new O-ring here, get it nice and greased up. Again, don't get it all over the place. It's not necessary to get too crazy here. And just put it right back on where it was before. Now that your hands are all slippery. And then all the way down like this. And don't push it too far down. It should be right at that little second level right there. Because then once you thread it back on, then it'll seal. Okay, finally, you take your new filter, you take your cap, and you snap it back in. And then you're good to go. Okay, it spins a little. One thing's for certain, once you start threading it in there, make sure it threads in properly, because these parts are plastic. You don't want to overstrip them. So then once you start tightening it, give it a good nudge, but don't tighten it way too tight to where you screw up the top, because again, it is plastic. All right, once you're done, you're gonna see that it's still slowly dripping a little bit, but it's okay to put this thing back on. It's pretty much dry. Start wiping it up a little bit. Nice and snug. Not too tight. Go ahead and wipe any excess oil off. Try not to cross thread it. Little money from my previous trip. So pretty self-explanatory. Take your oil, your new oil, after you're done putting in the oil pan screw and tightening it, and carefully put it in. So I like to leave that foil in the actual container itself, the oil container, just because it helps stop the flow or slow down the flow. Lean it in and then put it in. That's always the tough part. And with something this small, like a funnel this small, it will overflow if you're not careful, so just a little bit at a time. All right, so Rubber Ducky the Pirate says we need to reset our oil. So do not apply the brake. So go over here to your start and hit run. Just wait a little bit. Ignition on. Now go over here and press down. Okay, it says ignition on. Oil life. Press hold. And just like that, you're at 100%. How about that? This little guy's pretty happy. Ah, she's purring like a kitten. 100% oil life. She's happy. You know these things drive better when you change oil. I just wanted to tell you that. There's something emotional about it. They love you for it. May give you a little death wobble here and there, but hey, that's the Jeep world for you. So congratulations, everybody. You just changed your oil from a guy who doesn't know anything about Jeeps. All right, so there you go. So again, I showed you all the parts at the beginning of the video. Put on our cap. Again, sorry it's a little bit muddy. We were having some fun a couple of weeks back, so I need to go take her for a wash and clean her up underneath the underside. But it's a fairly easy process. So it probably took 15 minutes, and that's me going in and going to the restroom and taking a leak. So if you shake it more than once, you're playing with it. Anyway, sustainably go take this down to O'Reilly's or whoever. Make sure you dump the oil, appropriately. Don't just dump it out in your yards, man. That's not a cool thing to do. So make sure that we're taking care of the environment and everything like that, but at the same time, enjoy environment. So be safe out there. Check your oil frequently. Mine was really dark, and that had, roughly around 20% of life left in it. But we go pretty hard, running our daughter back and forth, cheerleading and all type of stuff, and mall crawling, but also crawling all over the rocks and mud trails and everything like that. So you will, if you do that a lot, you will need to change your oil more frequently. So check all your fluids, make sure you're doing everything right. But it's not a very hard process, so anybody could do it, especially you. Take care.